Why 12 gauge is the most powerful round in America? When people call the 12 gauge the most powerful round in America, they are not exaggerating. The real story is stranger. Its strength comes from the fact that it can become many different weapons in one. Today we are going to unpack why that is true. Ask yourself something before we go any further. What does most powerful actually mean? Does it mean the loudest blast, the heaviest impact, the widest choice of loads? Or does it mean steady, repeatable results when everything depends on that one pull of the trigger? Most people answer that question too quickly. They picture a large shell and assume that size alone explains their reputation. That idea sounds reasonable at first. It leaves out something important. A 12 gauge can fire a cloud of small pellets meant for birds. It can fire a handful of large buckshot pellets that each carry serious weight. It can also fire one solid slug, a heavy piece of metal that behaves more like a rifle bullet than a scatter of shot. The same shotgun handles all three. The difference lies inside the shell. That detail points us in the right direction. Power in this case is not tied to one shape or one purpose. It comes from choice and from how much material the shell can carry out of the barrel. Before moving further, one correction is worth making. People often call shotgun ammunition a round. In strict terms, that word fits rifles and handguns better. A rifle or pistol round holds one bullet seated in a case. When fired, one projectile travels downrange. A shotgun uses a shell. Inside that shell sit powder, a primer, a wad in the payload. That payload may be dozens of small pellets. It may be several large pellets. It may be one solid slug. The shell gives the shooter options in a way a typical handgun round does not. Think of it in everyday terms. A pickup truck can haul gravel one day and a refrigerator the next. The truck stays the same. The load changes. A 12 gauge works in a similar way. The firearm remains constant. The shell determines the job. Now we should clear up what gauge means. The term comes from an old measurement system. It refers to how many lead balls of bore diameter would equal 1 pound. In a 12 gauge, 12 lead balls of that size equal 1 pound. In a 20 gauge, it would take 20 smaller balls to reach that same pound. A smaller gauge number means a larger bore. The .410 follows a different rule. Its size is measured directly in inches. The bore measures roughly 4/10 of an inch across. That is why it carries the name .410 rather than a gauge number. Once the measurement makes sense, the idea of power becomes clearer. It comes down to weight, speed, and how force is delivered. Payload weight tells you how much material leaves the barrel. Velocity tells you how fast it travels. Energy and momentum explain why a heavy object moving at speed can strike with force. The 12 gauge stands out because it can launch a substantial payload in several different forms. A heavy charge of buckshot sends multiple pellets forward, each with its own path and impact. A slug concentrates that weight into one large projectile. Few other common firearms offer that range within a single platform. One detail gives the 12 gauge its reputation more than any slogan. It can deliver multiple serious impacts with a single trigger pull. With buckshot, several large pellets travel together. Each pellet carries mass. Each pellet creates its own impact point. The result is a cluster of hits rather than a single hole. A slug changes the character of the shotgun in a single step. Instead of separate pellets, the shell holds one solid projectile. All the weight moves forward together. Nothing spreads. It strikes as one mass. That is why people speak of slugs in strong terms. The projectile is large in diameter and heavy in weight. When that weight moves at speed, momentum rises and energy rises with it. The effect reflects that combination. In that moment, the shotgun behaves more like a large bore rifle than a traditional scattergun. Still, the word powerful needs care. A slug is not automatically the right answer for every task. Greater mass can mean greater penetration. Heavier loads can mean stronger recoil. The design is different and the trade-offs follow. This brings us back to the larger question. If a 12 gauge can carry that level of force, why does everyone not choose it for every purpose? The answer becomes clearer when we look at other gauges without bias. The 20 gauge has long been seen as the middle option. Its bore is smaller. In many loads, the total payload is lighter. Recoil often feels milder. For many shooters, that matters more than raw figures. A firearm that can be handled with confidence usually sees more practice and steadier results. A 20 gauge can still launch buckshot and slugs. It can still serve in defensive roles and in the field. Its upper limit, however, does not match that of the 12 gauge in total payload and variety of loads. The 12 gauge offers more options at the top end. The 20 gauge offers balance and control. The .410 sits in a smaller category. Its shells are slimmer. The payload is lighter. Recoil tends to be gentle. Firearms chambered in .410 are often lighter as well. Modern defensive loads exist for the .410, including buckshot and slug slug choices. Selection is narrower than in 12 gauge, and performance varies from load to load. The smaller shell cannot hold the same volume or mass as a standard 12 gauge shell. That limit comes from simple physics. None of this removes the usefulness of the .410. It fills certain roles well, yet when the discussion turns to maximum payload and the broadest range of load types, the 12 gauge remains at the top. Another reason explains its dominance in the United States. The 12 gauge appears almost everywhere firearms are sold. Hunters rely on it. Clay shooters rely on it. Law enforcement agencies have issued it for decades. Military forces have used it in specialized roles. Rural households often keep one as a general tool. Widespread use creates a cycle. More users create more demand. Manufacturers respond with more load types and new designs. Stores stock what sells. The result is a deep shelf of 12 gauge options, while other gauges occupy a smaller space. Availability shapes reputation. The tool that can be found almost anywhere gains practical authority. Ammunition, parts, and accessories remain easy to locate. That steady presence reinforces the standing of the 12 gauge year after year. Power, however, carries cost. Recoil is the first reality many shooters notice. A heavier payload moving at speed pushes back. That push can affect comfort and consistency. Some shooters adapt quickly, others find full power loads tiring over time. Capacity deserves mention as well. Many traditional shotguns hold a limited number of shells. Reloading requires practice and attention. Size also matters. Standard shotgun barrels can be long. In tight spaces, length can become awkward. Balance and proper fit influence how manageable the firearm feels. Penetration remains another concern. Heavy pellets and solid slugs can travel through materials with ease. Responsible ownership requires awareness of surroundings and safe handling habits. Several myths often cloud the discussion. One belief suggests that aiming is unnecessary with a shotgun. Reality does not support that idea. At typical indoor distances, buckshot patterns often remain tight. Careful aim still matters. Another myth claims that more power guarantees better results. Outcomes depend on control, familiarity, and judgment. A firearm that overwhelms the user may offer less practical value than one that fits well and can be managed steadily. A third misconception assumes all shotgun shells behave the same way. Birdshot, buckshot, and slugs serve different purposes. The design of the payload determines performance. After sorting through the claims, a clear picture remains. The 12 gauge earns its reputation because it carries some of the heaviest payloads available in common shotguns. It offers wide versatility from multiple pellets to a single heavy slug. It benefits from a deep and established ammunition market. Calling it the most powerful option makes sense within that frame. It combines mass, variety, and availability in one platform. Adaptability lies at the heart of its status. A single shotgun can shift roles through a change of shells. Safe handling, secure storage, and respect for local law stand above any debate about gauge. Professional instruction remains wise for anyone who chooses to own or use a firearm. Reputation should never outrank responsibility. The real takeaway is straightforward. The 12 gauge holds its place not simply because it is large, but because it can become many things. It can send several heavy pellets with one trigger pull. It can launch one solid slug with significant mass. It rests on the deepest bench of ammunition options in the country. If this breakdown helped clarify the subject, consider subscribing to more practical discussions. Share your view in the comments. Do you lean toward 12 gauge, 20 gauge, or .410, and what shaped that choice? Thoughtful conversations help everyone think more carefully about the tools they trust.